I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Well, Avery, as much fun as I had at the Grand Canyon last week, I am certainly glad to be shooting again here in the studio because it's just a little bit warmer here.
Just a little bit. No sleet hitting us in the eyes this time. A number of you commented on the picture we posted on our TWILA social media sites that we looked cold. I can confirm with a numb bottom lip, it was true. It was especially cold on Kerry Martin, our boss, who had to keep his hand free from a glove in order to work the teleprompter. I think he deserves some hazard pay on that one.
He definitely does. Well, another reason I'm glad to be home is it's finally crawfish season, and with all this warm weather, the boilers are running and Louisiana crawfish is now available for sale.
And even better news, the prices are already dropping. As TWILA's Neil Melasson shows us, the amount of crawfish normally available only in March is available right now.
Hot, boiled crawfish. It's hard to think of a more perfect Louisiana food that natives and tourists alike crave. Here at Tony's Seafood in Baton Rouge, they're bringing them in buckets and boiling them to perfection. What makes these crawfish more amazing is that this is January, and they're already at the size you're used to seeing later in the season. Bill Pizzolato is co-owners of Tony's, which is named after his dad who started it, and since that time, crawfish have been a perennial favorite here. This year, they've got them early. After the summer floods across South Louisiana, though, he didn't think it would be a good year at all for crawfish.
But now we look a lot more optimistic, because we're starting to see a lot of crawfish. We're starting to see areas that we thought was not going to come back, but they start with a lot of young crawfish.
One of those areas is here in Acadia Parish, where crawfish and rice farmer Paul Zonbrecker can confirm this season is unusual.
I talked to one of the buyers yesterday, and he said what he bought at his dock, he would normally buy that many crawfish in March.
Zonbrecker says that even though his area saw about 2 feet of rain over the summer, they had a very low mortality rate for crawfish even after the rains dried up.
Had a dry spell around pumping up. Once we pumped up, we've had a fairly mild winter, and of course, whenever you have a mild winter, crawfish are growing.
The good weather and good size of crawfish this time of year actually presents a problem to buyers and farmers alike. People are just not used to buying crawfish in January. As such, many buyers aren't purchasing throughout the week as they normally do during the busy March season, which keeps crawfish boats and their growers high and dry.
They start early, they get a supply. We may have a cold blast of weather come in, and all of a sudden there's no supply. So they would rather be a little conservative, start a little later. And of course this year they could have started right after Christmas.
Back at Tony's, Pizzolato says with the weather good, they're consistently getting a good supply. However, any cold snap could cause a reduction in supply, which keeps prices high.
By the time you send a truck out and you got your buyer and you go out and you're picking up 20 sacks, 15 sacks, or 30 sacks, the cost to bring that crawfish in is so high. But if you can turn around and load that same truck with 150 or 200 sacks or more, that cost is still the same. So that's what brings the price of crawfish down in the retail sector.
Right now, though, they're bringing them in by the sackfuls and being sorted. One of the secrets to Tony's success is their grater, which sorts the crawfish by size and gets rid of the dead crawfish, as well as old bait and anything else that isn't what consumers want. The result is a consistent size whether you're buying them fresh or boiled. For those who like to boil their own, Pizzolato has this bit of advice.
Just go out to be sure the crawfish is fresh, and that when they get them, that they keep them on ice. And it's really from the market to the house that you don't want to put them in water and let them sit in the water too long because they're going to die on you or drown.
Now, I talked with Bill for that interview a week ago, and as Avery told you, prices have since dropped to $4.49 a pound for boiled crawfish and unboiled $3.29 a pound for that 30 to 35 pound sack. And prices continue to drop right now. If it seems a bit high, though, for crawfish at March levels of abundance, it is. The reason is that word really still hasn't gotten out yet that crawfish are available, so go out and buy some to show a little interest to these places. If people buy more early on, restaurants will buy more, and the cheaper the price will get. Well, if you like crawfish, you have to like rice. Not only do the two go together, like in crawfish etouffee, but they grow well together. We went out to talk with the Zonbreckers and their rice crop this past summer. They had a beautiful looking rice crop that was heading towards a record, and that was before, though, the floods hit South Louisiana. Some parts of Acadia Parish where they are saw more than 2 feet of water during those rains, and it hurt more than just the rice crop. Paul Zonbrecker says while his farm avoided flooding, it did cause some damage to his crops at a time when prices are at their lowest.
South Louisiana, we're fortunate to have the crawfish, and it's helping a few guys make the year, and at the same time it's going to ensure that so many acres of rice do get planted because of the crawfish following the rice. So we don't have a lot of options down here. I think most people are going to try to plant, and we're going to try to be optimistic that some of these markets open up for 2017.
In many areas, the rice crop was heavily damaged, and that impacted the ratoon crop, or second crop of rice, harvested in October. Rice farmers saw lower than expected yields, and many rice farmers depend on that second crop to show any kind of profit for the year. And guys, they aren't kidding. Rice prices are at their lowest levels in almost a decade right now, and that's really not only impacting them there, but it's impacting their ability to get funding from banks. Banks are at some record low levels of lending right now for ag products.
Well, it goes to show the importance of having another crop to go to for these rice farmers. Crawfish, in that case, pretty much makes up the difference whenever they have prices for rice in a market they can't control.
That's right. And Paul Zonbrecker talked about the wild fluctuations in prices. You know, prices are headed down just because of the abundance, but they can fluctuate in there quite a bit. Hopefully, though, you know, they'll get some prices there, because one of the things we saw is that he wasn't harvesting 6 days, 7 days a week. He had to stop because the restaurants just weren't taking them.
Well, we hope the prices and the abundance goes up. Thank you very much, Neil Melasaw.
Well, you have yet another reason to enjoy Louisiana's $2 billion a year sugar industry.
Oh yeah, it's one you can sip. Kaneland Rum in Baton Rouge is just about ready to open its doors. And as you'll see in this sneak peek inside, the distillery is filled with the spirit of agriculture.
From cane to glass, that explains the whole process at Kaneland Distilling in Baton Rouge.
So these vats are from Cognac, France.
Walter Tharp is the founder. His family has owned Alma Plantation Sugar Mill for the last 200 years. That's where Tharp grew up.
Climbing up and down mountains of sugar and thinking that was the greatest thing ever, and having my mom be really upset with me when I got in the car with sugar in my ears and everywhere else. But it's really special to me. It's special to see this through and make sure that we're putting a quality product out there for the folks of Louisiana.
That quality product is rum. But it was not until Tharp went to Guatemala for a wedding that someone posed the question that led to Kaneland.
You have a sugar mill and you don't make rum?
Now he does. This barrel right here is the first barrel of rum produced at Kaneland. Note the signatures, making it unique, just like what's inside.
What's really unique about what we have here at Kaneland Distilling is that we'll be able to show folks from seed all the way to glass where the sugar product has been produced, the entire process. And we will be one of the only estate bottled spirits in the United States, which means we're all under one ownership. So we'll be able to follow the entire process from seed to your glass, and that's pretty rare in this business.
What's also rare is the kind of rum Tharp produces. You see, in that barrel is what's called rum agricole.
Most times you see rum spelled R-U-M, which indicates that it's a molasses-based rum, which is a commodity you can buy at any time of year and ship it all over the place and source it from anywhere. Distilleries do it all the time. But we'll be able to make rum agricole, which is spelled R-H-U-M, and that indicates that it's fresh pressed cane juice. And that's only available during the harvest once a year for a 3-month period. And so it starts to ferment immediately. So once it's crushed, you have to ferment it and get it into the still, or it starts to spoil within several hours.
Johnny Verplank is the distiller at Kaneland. He says, like with nearly any recipe, fresh is best.
Like the molasses came in the tanker. I mean, obviously we got our first load during grind season, but it came in the tanker and it was still warm. So we're pumping it into the tank, it's still warm. That's pretty amazing.
Grayson Close is a grain marketing specialist for the Louisiana Farm Bureau, but he's also a rum enthusiast who frequents a rum distiller in the Caribbean. And after his first taste,
it's very good. It's very smooth, it's soft, it's easy on the palate. That's going to be good rum when you bottle it.
But what about after the sniff test?
It's oaky, and then you pick up a little bit of floral on the backside, and then when you taste it, you kind of pick those citrus and floral notes out of the front, and then it's a smooth finish, no burn.
It's great. I like it. It's going to only get better. Everything is good. I mean, the sugar and the molasses. I mean, it's amazing. Like, Alma's got some really awesome stuff. So I'm really excited to be here and be this close to the cane.
In the tasting room, Tharp wants you to feel very close to the cane.
So you'll see all the old gears, all the old cane levelers, farming implements that are used as tables and lights and fixtures, that we want to create an atmosphere where you're feeling like you're actually at a museum almost rather than a distillery.
And like at a museum, you see things under glass, but that's not sand, it's sugar. The sugar that warms the sweet spot in Tharp's heart.
The webpage for Kaneland Distilling is still under construction, but Tharp is posting a lot of information, like when they plan to open around April or May. They're doing that on the company's Facebook page. You'll find a link to it on our website at twilatv.org. Sugarcane farmers have finally finished harvesting their fields in spite of weather delays. Craig Gautreaux tells us while the crop has been light in terms of tonnage, sugar recovery has been excellent, if not record-breaking.
Since the middle of September, sugarcane farmers have been cutting and hauling cane to mills across South Louisiana. While the harvest season has been exceptionally dry, excessive rainfall during the growing season has caused the tonnage of the crop to drop.
This could be our third wettest average rainfall since we've been keeping weather records. And in general, we produce our better crops on slightly drier than average years.
While the overall tonnage is down, sugar recovery has been outstanding.
We're on pace to set a record for sugar recoveries. So when it's all said and done, Louisiana is going to produce its 1.6 million tons of sugar, which is what the market expects.
Weather conditions helped in the sugar recovery. No tropical systems knocked over the cane, and very little trash and mud from the field was brought to the mills.
Excellent conditions for harvest. The crop stayed straight, so it's been a really cheap crop to get out for the growers and a really cheap crop for the mills to process.
While the dry conditions have helped the harvest, it has been a hindrance to the crop that was planted in early fall and may cause some problems next year.
I think right now the damage is already done on some of this plant cane in heavy ground. It just needed a little bit moisture for it to establish.
Gravois is encouraging farmers to examine a new variety called HOCP09 804. It has shown the potential of being one of the better performing varieties.
Good variety, high yielding, early maturing. Variety has good cold tolerance from testing that we've done during its development.
Gravois said that prices and demand for cane sugar has been strong, and he expects it to continue. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
Sugarcane farmers harvested more than 400,000 acres in 2016. Harvest wrapped up that first week in January, and I know a lot of them celebrated.
They did.
Well, still to come on TWILA, it's a cow candy conspiracy. On this week's Trending, we'll give you the real beef on some empty online rumors.
But first, a new pick for USDA Secretary may have some actual ag experience. Find out the latest coming up next. When you think of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, you likely picture tractors rolling through fields or an old dairyman milking his cows. The USDA is obviously responsible for these individuals, but they're also working hard to protect you. This week, TWILA's Carl Wiggers tells us why President Donald Trump's nomination for the Secretary of Agriculture is important for the farmer and the consumer alike.
Today, as our nation's capital adjusts to new leadership, farmers and ranchers continue to provide the nation with the safest and highest quality food and fiber in the world. The agency that helps to ensure that quality is the USDA. Last week, Sonny Perdue was named as President Trump's pick for the next leader of the Department of Agriculture. Perdue is not only a former Georgia governor and senator, but also a farmer, veterinarian, and ag business owner. Louisiana Farm Bureau Legislative Specialist Joe Mapes explains why he believes Purdue is the man for the job.
It's a great fit, Carl, because it's similar to regulatory boards throughout the country. For example, on the bar, you have lawyers that sit on the bar that regulate the legal industry. Why? Because lawyers understand the legal industry.
Mapes says having a secretary that understands the industry will help to guide that industry in the right direction. While this is great for the ag community, the one put in command of this department is important to you, the consumer, as well.
From the moment that we smell the coffee a farmer grew, to the eggs we began to eat, to the gasoline in the vehicle, to the wood in our homes and our office buildings, and it goes on and on throughout the day. Dozens, if not hundreds of times, the consumer's life is touched and affected by the Secretary of Agriculture.
When you buy your groceries, you know that you're getting food that is safe for your family to eat. That is due mostly to the 80% of the department's $140 billion annual budget that is dedicated to food and nutrition programs.
We all have the clear consciousness and confidence of the safest food supply in the whole world. And yes, that's a large part thanks to the farmers, but it's ensured by efforts thanks to the USDA.
East Feliciana cattle producer Amelia Kent relies on programs from the USDA to help her bring that safe food to your table.
Just as sustainability and conservation are important to the consumer, they're crucial to today's farmers. And agencies and programs through the U.S. Department of Agriculture help us achieve those levels of higher sustainability and better conservation.
As of this recording, Purdue's confirmation hearing is not yet scheduled. The current acting secretary is Michael Skuse.
Farmers and ranchers across the state can expect fewer environmental regulations under President Donald Trump. That's according to Louisiana Congressman Ralph Abraham from the 5th Congressional District. Dr. Abraham will continue to serve on the House Agriculture Committee and is a farmer himself. He says Louisiana's farmers and ranchers are already great stewards of the land. After all, if the soil, water, and air are in bad shape, plants and animals will not grow. Abraham says our farmers and ranchers will not have to worry about getting federal permits just to make a living.
Hopefully WOTUS will go away. I think you'll see a lot of these executive orders just be gone with the stroke of a pen from President Trump. And again, this is going to be a good thing. There's not one of us here in Washington, certainly not anybody in the farming community, that don't want clean water, don't want clean air, but it's got to be done right, and it's got to be done where we can actually make a living keeping the air clean and the water fresh.
Congressman Abraham says he's also glad to see Trump choose former Georgia Governor Sonny Perdue to head the USDA. With Perdue there, former Georgia Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall now serving as president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, and Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry Dr. Mike Strain serving as president of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, Abraham says the South is now well represented when it comes to ag issues. Not only that, but Abraham's fellow Louisiana representative, 6th District Congressman Garrett Graves, has been named chairman of the House Water Resources Subcommittee. This panel has jurisdiction over the Army Corps of Engineers, EPA, and other agencies which govern issues which greatly affect Louisiana.
Well, now we bring you a story that we held over from the 98th annual meeting of the American Farm Bureau Federation. The leaders of 2 agricultural organizations united to discuss the issues facing farmers and ranchers in 2017. American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall shared the stage with Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain. As Avery mentioned, Dr. Strain is the president of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, or NASDA for short. The 2 leaders fielded questions on trade, environmental issues, and who might be the next Secretary of the USDA. However, Strain says it's very clear what is the biggest obstacle facing agriculture this year.
Our biggest national issue is that our commodity prices need to improve. That's the #1 biggest issue. Followed that is going to be the lack of available credit, farm credit, because we've had a couple of years of lower commodity prices. And as you know, the average farm, they borrow between $1 million and $3 million on the next crop.
Strain and Duvall agree that increased trade will increase demand for American corn, wheat, soybeans, and rice, and that the increased demand would send commodity prices higher. You may recall President Donald Trump recently signed an executive order removing the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The American Farm Bureau Federation had supported the TPP.
Still to come on TWILA, we'll take a look at agriculture's reaction to the new administration and all of these new appointments.
Plus, women in agriculture are also trending, and Louisiana women will be getting together soon to discuss it. Stay with us. About 3,500 farms in Louisiana are owned and operated by women, according to the Natural Resources Conservation Service. That's why the NRCS is working with the Acadiana Resource Conservation District to organize the 5th Annual Louisiana Women in Agriculture Conference. It's going to take place February 9th and 10th at the Holiday Inn in downtown Alexandria. The keynote speaker is Wisconsin dairy farmer and ag blogger Kim Brimmer, and I'm told that she's an absolutely inspirational speaker. There will also be sessions about speaking with legislators and how to tackle the big issues facing agriculture.
It's going to be an opportunity for women from across the state who work in all different types of agriculture to be able to get together and have a time to really connect and really get some motivation and inspiration for the new year.
Registration is $50 and it covers all events and meals. You can register online, and if you're interested, you'll find a link on our website at twilatv.org.
Yeah, I was talking to Amy Robertson about the event, and she told me some cool things that they're going to do. Like when people arrive, they're going to have a red carpet there and have them take pictures. And then the following morning, starting at 7 a.m. with yoga to get centered before everything starts.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, moving on, it's time for Trending on TWILA, where we go online to see what you guys were talking about on social media this week.
President Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony had everyone talking online last week. The ag community was buzzing with excitement as dozens of tractors rolled through the inaugural parade to showcase the importance of agriculture in rural America.
It's the Rural Tractor Brigade from Elkhorn, Nebraska.
RFD-TV organized the Rural Tractor Brigade, led by national FFA members, which featured both red and green tractors driven by leaders from various ag groups.
American Farm Bureau President Zibby Duvall shared live videos on his Facebook page all day, and he said that he was excited to drive his Case tractor through the streets of our nation's capital. What an exciting way to see rural America featured during this historic event.
From tractors to Skittles, social media went candy crazy last week after a massive load of Skittles spilled onto the road, creating a crimson candy-coated highway in Dodge County, Wisconsin. News sources say the candies were en route to a local dairy farm to feed cattle when the box fell apart and spilled onto the highway.
The story spurred dozens of articles online as people asked, is this a candy cow conspiracy, and why are we feeding Skittles to cows? Dairy farmer and cattle nutritionist Laura Daniels posted this video response on her farm's Facebook page to address the question and explain why candy is actually a good source of carbohydrates for cattle feed.
And we really take it serious, the fact that we're producing this really awesome food source from, milk, cheese, yogurt, all of it.
Daniel said this is a good way for farmers to cut back on the cost of feed when corn prices are high. And I seem to remember back in 2008 when commodity prices went up, this was one of the options for some cattle ranchers and some dairy farmers to be able to find a way to supplement the feed that was a little less expensive. And no waste.
That is true, no waste. And a lot of times they do that around Halloween when they have so much candy left over, and it's a good way to feed a lot of cows in a dairy. So, well, now it's time for our weekly trending trivia. Last week we asked you, what feature is unique about Grand Canyon rattlesnakes? And the correct answer is B, they are pink in color so that they'll blend in with the rocks along the canyon. This week's question is, which part of a cow's stomach acts as a fermentation chamber to help digest food? Is it A, the omasum, B, the rumen, or C, the abomasum?
To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILATrivia. We will pick one winner from the correct entries, and you'll get a special prize pack because we have some stuff left over from our trip to Arizona. Great little prizes from the Grand Canyon. That does it for this edition of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Be sure to join us next week when I'll bring you a story showing you how the Girl Scouts and the NRCS are teaming up for conservation.
For all of us here at TWILA, I'm Kristen Oaks White. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you right here next week.